Hello, this is Sydney. So based on my interview, the advice I would give you...
Hello? Dude, she was so nice.
I'm almost there. Hello, my name is Sydney, and I'm about to do my Disney College Program interview. My interview is at 3:30, and I am freaking out. Okay, so my predictions for the Disney College Program for where I'm going to be placed. I'm manifesting this. I'm going to be a Tower of Terror bellhop in Hollywood Studios, and I'm going to be the best bellhop there ever was. You best believe it. And if I'm not that, I'm going to be a Haunted Mansion ghost. But, you know what I'm going to get? Real talk. I'm going to get character attendant, because I'm cool. I'm so chill. I'm good with children. I also could be a skipper at the world famous junk. If they ask for my favorite joke, I'm gonna have to tell them on the phone what's the difference between a and a priest. He waits and on your face. I will say that if they have to ask me my favorite joke, I have no other jokes. I kind of deep down feel like I'm gonna get a DCP role that nobody gets. Like actually like vacation planner, where people are just like, really? What do you think?
I predict Chief Financial Officer
of the Walt Disney... I'm actually the next CEO. That's what this interview is for. Mortimer, what am I gonna get? He said, you're gonna be out in the cold rain on a summer's eve at a resort. Okay, Mortimer.
Is there like a drink tester for Epcot? Is that like a role?
No, but put me in the British pavilion, please. I have experience with British men.
If you're gonna put me in food and beverage,
at least let me get an accent out of it. Oh, fit check. I like that people during their DCP, they have like a ton of like Mickey ears behind them or like their stuffed animal wall of like Disney Squishmallows. I have sharp objects. I keep scissors at my DCP table. This table is actually kind of grim.
okay, you know how the DCP videos...
This is God. It's not a person. Yeah! Oh yeah. Crazy story I almost forgot to mention. Before this interview, I was like, I need to go to Dutch Bros. You know Dutch Bros. Get myself a sweet little treat. And the lady working Dutch Bros was like, oh, got any plans today? I was like, yeah, I'm interviewing for the Disney College Program. And she went, no way. I got back this week. So shout out to the woman working Dutch Bros who, this was her first shift back in Arizona from the Disney College Program. And she said, don't get quick service. So fingers crossed. She said she met some of her bestest friends there. So insert bestest friends here when I have them from the DCP, because that Dutch Bro employee manifested it. Insert video of me for the next 20 minutes sitting on my phone.
Were you angry when you found out that recycling plastic was pretty much a scam?
No. Call any minute now, so my hands are clammy. This video is gonna actually just turn into what are Sydney's really strange things she does before an interview. Sydney enunciates. She punches her T's. That's not a T. That's a mess. My Disney voice is
very upbeat, and I'm excited to talk to someone. And
this is Sydney going insane.
Hello, this is Sydney.
Hello, this is Thomas. And in 10 minutes, I can get a call from a Disney recruiter to do my phone interview for the Disney College Program. So we had applied a month ago, both of us at the same time, same night. And within an hour, she got an email saying that she was getting an interview. And so she scheduled it for yesterday. I didn't hear anything for the whole month. Nothing. All it said was, in consideration, we might reach out to you at some point. But I got no email. I'm not going to get into the Disney College Program. But then yesterday, during her interview, while she's in here, I'm literally listening at the door. Buzz, buzz. I get an email. It's Disney. They said, you want to do a phone interview? Expectations. So, I feel like I'm ready, but I'm nervous because most of the interviews you see on YouTube, or the interviews that people talk about, it's a very bubbly interviewer. They have the same kinds of questions. You can prepare for those questions. If you just write down the questions from like 3 or 4 videos, you pretty much know them all. But yesterday, Sydney's interview had all these questions we never heard before. They can call me in 5 minutes. Woo! Mortimer P. Sniffington has his little pipe. And he is an expert on getting into the Disney College Program. He advised her, and we don't know yet, but she killed it. This is Biggie Bob. I have my marker in hand because I'm going to have it uncapped, so I write their name down. Because otherwise I will forget. I know I'm going to forget, but it's going to be fine that I forget to say their name because that's overrated. Let's do a fit check. So it kind of looks like I'm matching Mortimer, but I'm not. I'm rocking the cat shirt. We got Mama Cat here. These are our cats. So Mama Cat. Down here we got Star-Lord. Over here we got Shadow. Let me see if I can find Coraline. There she is. Coraline. Why do you think they waited a month to reach out to me? Am I like second choice? Did someone not do their interview and so they were like, ugh, we'll take Thomas, I guess. I'm going to be sitting here for the next 30 minutes, locked in, ready to write their name down. Blep, blep, blep. Hello? Dude, she was so nice.
You got like no question.
She was softballing, but from like the 5 I don't know softball terms. I don't know sports.
Are you a good listener?
I said, yeah. She was so nice. Slay.
Hi, me from the future. And after I know whether or not I got in.
You've been selected to pretend. Dude,
Ooh.
10-year-old Sydney would be so hyped right now.
Ooh.
I'm gonna cry. I'm so excited.
Good job. I'm so proud of you.
Is it bad that this feels so much better than when I got the PhD offer? I'm going to Disney World.
You're going to Disney World.
I just wanted to go over exactly like what happened during my interview, the overall vibe, because Thomas and I had very different interviews. And honestly, I did not see any videos on YouTube that showed an interview like mine. I felt somewhat unprepared and I had watched probably 10 hours worth of these videos. So I just wanted to go over in generic terms kind of what happened in my interview, what kind of questions were asked, and then what kind of questions I remember her asking. Because we did not record the interviews, out of courtesy for Disney, they asked us not to, so we didn't, you know. Started with one of the 5 keys. I hated that. So we didn't record. I also don't speak for the brand or the company. Don't sue me, Mickey Mouse, please. I really like you, Mickey. So yeah, my interview, it was about 25 minutes, and most of the interviews I've seen online, the interviewer is really like bubbly and like, oh yeah, that sounds amazing, and very conversational. And my interviewer was pretty direct and asked way more like specific questions and like responded like I've had other interviews where it's just like, okay, sounds good. So just to launch right into it, the first couple questions she asked were like very objective. So they were questions like, do you have a valid US driver's license? Have you graduated? Where did you go to school? Are you an international student? Are you recording? That's when I stopped recording because I was like, I want this job. And they also asked, like, are you in a safe space? Are you not currently driving? All the really easy questions to answer. And then she started the interview out, like I've seen a lot of other interviews. She said, why are you interested in doing the Disney College Program? I got a spiel for that. I have my notes over here. I was ready to go on that one. And I was like, okay, I'm going to kill this interview. And then she asked another easy question. She was asking, do you have a favorite character or movie or ride? So of course, I gushed about Tower of Terror. You know, subliminal messaging. Put me in Tower of Terror. I'm not going to get Tower of Terror though, because no CP gets Tower of Terror. She then started asking questions that were more like based on my living situation in the past. So there were questions like, have you lived by yourself? Have you had any conflicts with roommates in the past? One question she asked that I remember because I was like, that's kind of a weird question to ask. What is like the key to having a harmonious environment with people from different backgrounds? From there in the interview, I started noticing like these are questions I've never heard anyone be asked during the Disney College Program. And I don't know if it's good or bad for like my chances of getting a role that I like. I don't even think the interviews actually make a difference on that, but if they do, I have no idea, because she never asked like what my preference for roles was, what my top 3 roles were, nothing like that. Like she asked about roles, but they were just specific questions for each role, and she wasn't asking me what roles I want. I know they don't care, but every other interview I've seen, they ask like, oh, what are your top 3 roles? What role do you think you'll be best in? Never once asked that. I just have a couple notes here. This is not a transcript of the interview, nothing like that. I actually, after the interview, was like, I remember some of these questions being weird, so I'm gonna write them down so I don't forget. After she asked about my roommates, she asked about my most recent work experience, and she just wanted me to outline what I did during that, which was really easy to do. The format of her interview went as follows. She asked those really objective questions. Then she asked about my living situation. And then she had a list of roles. And she went through each role, like described the essential functions of the role, and then asked a question that pertained to that specific role. So for example, I remember for attractions, she gave a brief description about attractions and then said, tell me about a time you prioritized safety during your job. So after attractions, she asked like, how would you tell a guest that a ride is closed because of inclement weather? A question I haven't heard before. And then she asked, this one was weird. Could you tell me about your most recent experience in which you learned a new technology or system? I was like, yeah, I can. Was not prepped whatsoever. Next, she talked about character attendant and gave a brief description of that. And then said like, oh, if Mickey's line is closed, how would you tell a guest that? I had that one on lock. Then she asked about my BFA in photography and was like, can you hold a camera? What kind of cameras have you worked with? Would you be comfortable in water? All those questions were pretty easy to answer. So next she asked about quick service, food and beverage. And that's like the one role, like I'm not a priss. My top priority was to get into the Disney College Program and still is. Whatever role I get, I'll be the best worker in that role. But quick service, food and beverage is of least interest for me because I just hate food. Like in general, like eating is a chore for me. So I don't love being around it. But she asked like, oh, are you comfortable with cash handling? And then would you be comfortable with food handling with proper training? Would you be good around chemicals? I remember her asking. This one threw me for a loop. She asked, what would be your expectations as a guest at a resort? That was a question that got me. I answered it. I was like, you need to have like courteous staff, safety, cleanliness. I had the whole shebang, but was not prepared with the shebang whatsoever. And then said, if a family came up to you and asked for a unique dining experience, what would you recommend them? And then she just asked any other questions for me. So in summary, my interviewer asked a whole lot of situational questions, and she asked a lot of them. There was, I think, probably over 20 questions that were asked in like this 25 minutes. She was just going through them. I didn't have the chance to like monologue at all. I didn't have a chance really to use any of my notes. I didn't talk about my strengths or my weaknesses. I didn't even have the opportunity to like say how any of my job experience would help in any of the roles. I was so ready for attractions to go on a whole spiel about spiels. Also, I'm like used to talking in a microphone and crowd control and safety, and I just never got to talk about that, which is fine. But I just feel like the questions were very boxed in. They weren't very open-ended. So based on my interview, the advice I would give you, I would definitely think of a bunch of circumstances that have happened in your job. Be ready to talk about conflict with a coworker. Be ready to talk about just circumstantial stuff, like even new technology you've just used. And then on top of that, be able to talk about your most recent experiences and exactly what you did. I know on my application I wrote that I lived independently in the past, but I wasn't prepared to answer a lot of questions about roommates. I've had good roommates in my life. I live with Thomas, 10 out of 10. And I also live with Mortimer, Gigi, and Serafina. They're a little crazy, but, you know, I wouldn't have any conflict with them. So I hope that helps out a little bit. Thomas had a very, very different experience than I did. We're going to jump into his now.
Hello, this is Thomas from the future. So first off, the questions. It was a similar format for the beginning of the interview where they talk about all the general objective questions. They ask you, are you in a safe place? Not driving? Are you an international student? Do you have an active driver's license? They confirm the start and end dates of the program you're considering to make sure that you're talking about the same program they are. They make sure that you graduated within 24 months so that you're still eligible for the program, etc. I think everyone gets asked all of those questions. But after that, she started the interview, the actual questions of the interview, very differently than Sydney's had. My interviewer went what I would call like the top 3 approach. She wants to find out really general information about you, your interests, your passions, and like which roles you're targeting. And then some specific questions about the roles that you mentioned. So my first question was, why did you apply for the DCP? And that was great because that was the question we had prepared for the most. I had a great answer that walked through my qualifications, my past job experience, my love for Disney, what I think the DCP will do for my career. I had a very complete answer for that one, which I was very excited about. The next couple of questions were about prior work experience and the responsibilities that I had in those roles. So she asked, first, what was a responsibility at a job that was your favorite? And then the next one was, I think, what was the most challenging responsibility that you've had at a job? So it was just an opportunity to tie my work experience to the roles that I wanted, which is what we prepped for. I think you should be prepared to answer those questions. And so, yeah, I was really happy about that. After that, she asked, what are some roles that caught your eye? I had a prepared answer for top 3. I was able to, give a whole spiel about how I'm qualified for my top 3 roles, which were attraction, resort concierge, and vacation planner. So I was able to give my whole spiel on that, which was amazing. Next up, since I had indicated that attractions was the role that I was targeting the highest, she asked me a question about that. It was a version of the question that is, at Disney, safety starts with me, which means you see something, you say something. Can you give an example of a time where you prioritize safety in a role? And this is another one that we had prepped for. Definitely a good one to prep for your interviews. What I did at the second half of this answer, which I think was really beneficial, is so I answered the question, which is something I did in the past, and then I tied it into how it would be beneficial for my role in attractions. So I was able to show not only that I'm qualified for attractions, but also that I understand what they're looking for in attractions, which is something that she mentioned later in the interview, that I seemed to understand all of the roles really well and what was kind of what they were looking for in each of those roles. So I think that was really beneficial for me, and that's definitely something that you can incorporate into your interviews, saying directly that you know what they're looking for, because it shows that you've done your research. She asked me, do you have any other questions for me? And that was it. That was the whole interview. It was about the same amount of time as Sydney's interview, but there was just so much yapping about, our lives, our families, what we're excited for, our love for Disney. She was such a positive person. I would love to be friends with her. I'm not going to say her name out of, respect for her privacy, but I hope I meet her sometime. And I'm like, oh, you were so nice to me on my interview. So I think very different experience from Sydney's, just in the question format, but also in the interviewer experience. I don't think that one is better than the other. I think you should be prepared for both types of interview, though. And here's our reasoning for this. If you get a very bubbly interviewer who gives you very open-ended questions and allows you to use all of your prep exactly how you want to, that's ideal because you feel great, you feel confident, you're going to nail that interview. It's going to be pretty easy for you. But what I was thinking is that every other person interviewing with that interviewer will get the exact same attitude, the same questions, so they're going to be bubbly with everyone. If you get someone who is not super bubbly, who has a lot of questions that are circumstantial, they're not letting you just monologue saying exactly how you qualify for every role that you want. It's harder, but if you prep for that, you can do, I would say, much better than the rest of the people interviewing with that interviewer, if that makes sense. I feel like they all probably let in the same number of people to the good roles, the popular roles. Something to keep in mind, you might get a really bubbly interviewer, but you might not. And you should be prepared for both, because it might work out for you that you get a interviewer that most people aren't ready for, who's very, professional. You might thrive in that environment and you might get a really good role out of it. But that is assuming that the interview actually matters for your role placement. We really don't know. Sydney's interviewer mentioned that the role placement is based on what you put on your application, where my interviewer said that it was based on your application and your interview. No one knows how you get roles assigned to you in the DCP. It kind of feels like random and that everyone just gets quick service food and beverage. But I think you should do everything in your power to get the roles that you want. So, do the prep, take your application seriously, take your interview seriously, and really prep for multiple kinds of interview that you could get. And I guess that maximizes your chances of getting the role that you want, even if it's not going to guarantee it. It doesn't hurt, definitely. Thank you for watching this whole thing. If you want to see more videos like this, please hit the subscribe button. We're going to be making a ton of videos about the Disney College Program, Disney in general, Universal, probably cruises, maybe our hobbies. We have a lot of really fun hobbies. So it's going to be a lot of content on this channel, several videos a month probably. So if you enjoyed this video, if you want to see more from us, please hit the subscribe button right here on Gigi's head. Right there. I don't know where, it's going to be somewhere over here. Hit the subscribe button, please. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.